the normal stuff at the beginning, the board minutes, the financial reports, the approval of bills, counting of taxes, student recognition. There'll be a couple of kids
Yes.
from the high school. We recognize the public. The enrollment report will be added on Thursday. And that's maintained pretty constant for the year, which is actually good because at this time of the year, October and November are times when you usually have people, the number starts to decline, and it really hasn't significantly this year. Performance contract extension for CM3, that we talked about at the last. This is just the language to, and I thought it was important upon formal approval of the scope and pricing to be board approved.
And then whatever we decide we're gonna do as a board, along with yourselves,
Correct.
then that's what they'll do.
That's correct.
Right.
That's correct.
And the other way was different, we were doing the whole shebang, and so.
Yeah, right, exactly. That last one, the other one, we said, here's the whole package, it was $9,980,000, and we just did that. This one, because the formal approval of scope and pricing to the board, we will have the opportunity, if we go and say we're gonna do this $5 million, and then we go later on and say we wanna add additional to it a year or two or three, we can continue to keep it open, and again, it's 20 years, so the useful life of the energy guarantee. So we'll have 19 years to add scope and add pricing later on. I thought this was important for you to be able to say, you know, yeah, we really only want to do $4 million, or we only want to do total 6, or whatever. We'll have the ability to decide, yeah, yes, we'd like to do that, but no, we're not going to.
Yeah, as Gary said, there's a lot of stuff that we need to get done, unfortunately. I mean, that's, the water.
Absolutely. Anything,
The pipes, I mean, or else you leave the drop ceilings the way they are and change blocks.
Right,
Yeah.
correct. It's pretty.
Well, Matt did it for years, though. He did bucket brigade.
Yeah.
He was having a lot of fun with that stuff. He was going home, his wife said, how do you get such great shape? Well, I've been working out a little bit on this side.
35 gallons of
A lot of
water.
work.
Yeah.
35 gallons of water is heavy.
You got us through it, though, for
Yeah.
a couple of years.
Yeah. Then we have item 13 is
Yeah, just saying.
the agreement with Airlick Pest, which is the same as many past years consecutively. Act 48 is the same with the IU from many past years of monitoring the Act 48 hour requirements for all of our professional staff. Waiver and expulsion hearing. We did have an incident in the school district from a discipline standpoint that was drug and alcohol related, and there is a waiver that's being asked for approval. Then we did have an expulsion hearing last Tuesday, and I'll have further discussion about that later on, but that's being recommended for expulsion. Transportation extension, we had an additional child in needs to go to PATH from Waymart to RDW. Then the overnight trips, TSA state conferences, April 29th to the 22nd for the high school and middle school, and the band spring trip as well. Personnel, we'll come back to personnel once we get into executive
On the
session.
TSA trips, was it the recommendation of the advisor, the only one chaperone go from each club? The high school, middle school?
I don't know the answer to that.
I believe it's a set amount of chaperones per student. Like for however many students there are that go, they have to have a
Okay.
requirement of chaperones. So I think it just depends on how many students go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll get to personnel in executive session. The substitute list, we'll have a substitute who's going to get all the clearances to us. The adjudication, that is an employee termination. We'll get to that in personnel session also. Then we have an appointment of an advisor. We're going to have a musical this spring, so Alan Kloss for the musical, technical director, and then the fall coaches who have submitted. I got 2 more sent in an email after these were printed today, so we'll be adding additional coaches as well. That would be Dante's already there. Okay, he came in early, but there's some additional coaches that we will add to that. There's a resignation of advisor for the memory book in high school, junior high wrestling.
Joe, do you want to, I just want to, with the coaches, do you want, again, so we don't run into these issues with
Yes,
those two,
yeah.
get those out before, so
Yeah.
we're not doing this.
We'll have that, again, have that conversation right after the personnel session today. Is that okay for everybody?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, good point, thank you.
Kabowski must have taken off.
We'll have that, we're gonna have that discussion at the next executive session, because I don't have all the detail on what we're doing there. Then we do have, we, depending on how we make out with the adjudication, we have a custodian position that will become available, and again, we'll talk about that in personnel as well. Executive volunteers, there are some additional volunteers for Evergreen track, mostly Evergreen, and then meeting schedule. The meeting schedule is, this is just the formal board meetings. We will be adding, and I think, did it go in the packets, the committee, yeah, the committee meetings will go in the packets. The oddball one is January, because it's usually the first Monday of the month is when we have the meeting, but we're not gonna bring everybody in over Christmas holiday to have a board executive, or a committee meeting, so we're planning on doing that, I believe that on Tuesday, which is the 3rd of January. And again, we'll get that information to you, and if you have any comments or anything that we think we need to change, just please mention that to us. Tentative budget, we moved the budget adoption, left it at more of a traditional time frame, because it looks like the state, we're not 2 years behind with not knowing where we are with state money. If you recall, last year we moved the May tentative adoption to the last Monday of the month, and the same thing for the last Monday of June for final adoption, because at that point we were 2 years in arrears with knowing how much state money we were gonna get. Now we are not, and you'll see financially that we're in a good position, so we're anticipating going back to the more traditional schedule of the middle of May and in the 3rd week of June instead of the last and the last. There is a requirement of 30 days difference between the two. We don't anticipate having a huge crunch of not knowing what the state might or might not be doing. It has much lesser effect on us this year than it has in the last two. And again, Labor Day, same thing. Labor Day was the first Monday, so we'll have that discussion about the overall student calendar in January. We approved that, I believe, in either February or March last year, depending on what we're going to do with the construction project and how much time we think we need to go with that. If we're going to do anything more than $4 million worth of construction over the summer, I'm certainly going to recommend that it stop to open school for students after Labor Day. That was a tremendously good thing we did last year, because we were not ready. We thought we were going to be really close to being ready for August 26th, and we weren't. So moving the school calendar back.
I think that was a great idea. You gave yourself leeway, which you need to have, instead of having confusion come opening of school and it's not ready to open, then you got more.
Right, and we don't want to, a local school district 2 years ago got caught short, and then 2 days before school opened, they announced to everybody, sorry, we're not ready, and now we're gonna be 2 weeks later, and with what that does to people with childcare and their jobs and whatever else was just, we think that this is, let's err on the side of being a little conservative and have the job done, and then have our custodian staff and teaching and teacher aide and administrative staff have time to go and do, get the room set up and get everything done that needs to be done. Okay? And then there's a whole bunch of informational items. I think that's it. So unless you have anything on that, we could go to executive session